Kid, there comes a time in your life you just can't do anymore when all your energies have been used up. Goodbye, pal. Bye.
So a few days ago, I dropped a video about me possibly retiring from teaching the red pill stuff and female nature and just kind of weaning off of it because I don't really benefit from it. Um, that's that's always been for you. And when I first started teaching it, I did not expect the amount of backlash from um, obviously women, but also people in this space as well that came after me for it, did hater videos on me, and um, yeah, really just people that like, okay, I didn't even know they knew who I was, and then here they are, talking about me on their channel. And the thing that a lot of them didn't understand was I was not benefiting from that, like selling. It does not help me sell more PUA programs. And that's what I do, right? I teach cold approach pickup. And those are what all of my programs are about. I said on my video a few days ago, I do not have a single red pill program, a single red pill book that I'm selling. I don't have any of that, okay? I don't sell any of that. I'm not profiting from any of that. As a matter of fact, teaching you about female nature and the red pill and what women are all about just puts you off from wanting to do cold approach, puts you off from wanting to do pickup, and I will tell you right now, it's affected my ability to sell my programs. So how do I don't understand how I benefit from that, and it got to the point where before me and my girl broke up last year, and I mentioned this in the video that we were getting serious, and it was kind of like, okay, well, we for the first time we were talking about marriage and how would this work, and I had to seriously consider what I teach moving forward, because when it's just me, I don't mind putting myself in danger, but when it's somebody else, especially if it's somebody that I'm going to marry, it becomes a different thing. I don't want to put her in danger, her family in danger, or anything like that. And so I thought long and hard about it, and I was very much contemplating not teaching it anymore, you know. And the thing about it too is I'm actually on the battlefield. So, when it comes to these other gurus who write books and stuff on this, I don't even know where they're getting their information from. I mean, that they could write books. They're very smart, by the way. They're very intelligent, way more smarter than me. I'm just kind of a dumb jock. I'm just kind of a PUA. I mean, I'm not really book smart like that. I never have been. I'm more like street smart. Um, I originally grew up in the Haight and Ashbury district of San Francisco. That is, I mean, we were literally, I remember our first apartment was blocks away from where Charles Manson used to live. I mean, obviously he was already in prison. Um, I wasn't around yet when he was committing. Well, he didn't commit murder. He's like the first serial killer who didn't kill anybody. He had disciples do his dirty work for him, right? But he lived right on Haight and Ashbury in this apartment that's still there. And then all that happened in the '60s, and then my dad decided to get an apartment there when he had us as kids. Before we got our house, and then we moved closer to the beach and the Cliff House and all that, and I got to grow up in a nicer, at least a decent neighborhood, still blue collar, but right in front of the beach was super awesome. I mean, yeah, back in the day, that was just killer, man. Um, and the houses weren't expensive. I mean, my dad bought our house for $32,000. Believe it or not, that was in like the early '70s, and now, I mean, the house is you know worth millions. It's like just from sitting on it. But in any case, not to get off topic. Uh, so yeah, I'm more like street smart, and I just really, when I started teaching you guys red pill, I was talking from personal experience. Okay, so I am not a book writer. I mean, I'm working on my book right now, The Last Pickup Artist. I've got ghostwriters because I'm not good at like writing a book. I can create pickup programs, like my pickup artist programs. I created myself because that's easy for me because I teach students and I know how to kind of organize the material and organize the lessons so you can kind of go at your own pace, right? As far as teaching game and cold approach, that's kind of a skill set in itself because I've met a lot of very talented PUAs who I want them to help, like teach some of my students, but they it's like they know how to do it, but they can't consciously teach it. They're not really consciously aware of what they're doing that's working. Where I was always consciously aware of it because I was always deconstructing my approaches to see like, okay, why did this not work? I'd come back from the club like a scientist when I was younger, and I'd pull out the notebook and I start taking notes like, oh, I gotta remember what I said to this chick. It worked. I was like writing all these notes. And after many years of doing that, I started to see the pattern. I was like, okay, this works, this works. So in my programs, I just really cut through the noise and I give you what works. Like, hey, you don't have to waste years of your life trying to figure out what to say, what to do. Here's what works. Anyway, I'm good with that, but I'm not good at like sitting and writing a book, even if it's my life story, like The Last Pickup Artist. I've got ghostwriters because when it comes to autobiography and like 300, I think they said it has to be like 354 pages or something. I'm like, uh, so what they have me doing is they have a list of questions and they have me speaking into basically a tape recorder answering these questions. That's the way I do things. And I send it to them, and then they organize it in a way where it makes sense in the book, and it's like it's an interesting read, and they make it interesting. And I told them, don't Hollywoodize it. I don't want like don't allow, don't exaggerate anything where that didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like Hollywood movies, like they exaggerate so much. And I'm like, I want to stick to what actually happened. Just make what I mean. In my pickup stuff is already interesting. I mean, trust me, I've had a lot of interesting experiences with women, and like, yeah. So I said, yeah, it's interesting enough. They agreed. They're like, okay, we won't mess with the story. We'll just make it as use the type of wording that will keep the reader engaged and want to finish the book. Like, okay, good enough. Anyway, yeah, those guys are very good at writing books. It's a talent in itself. And when I started teaching you guys Red Pill, it really came from my own personal experiences. This is why, it's easy for me to talk about this stuff. Like when I was on Pearl, she didn't know what she was going to get because she hasn't seen me on too many podcasts. Like, what kind of guest is Matt going to be? And I think she was pretty impressed. She was, oh, wow, this guy just was pretty seamless. And it's like, yeah, it's seamless for me because I'm just talking about my own personal experiences and guys that I've coached about female nature, And I don't know where this term, like red pill, came from. Obviously, it came from the Matrix, but it became a thing. Like, hey, female nature, when you talk about the truth about women, it's red pill. Okay, great, fine. So let's use that term so guys understand. That's what guys relate to. That's fine. But I'm just speaking from like being on the battlefield. So I've actually experienced this stuff where these guys are in the space writing books about it. They aren't on the battlefield, right? I've said these guys are like single dads. They're basically behind a microphone all day long. They're very articulate. So hey, more power to them. But I didn't appreciate the tax because I'm like, I'm the one who's actually on the battlefield, seeing this stuff, encountering it, and dealing with it, and speaking from lessons that I learned from being there. You've never been there, and yet I'm the grifter, and I'm not making money from it. So it's like, okay, from my understanding, grifting is you make money from it. You're like, how? So I was thinking about. I just got to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna retire from that. I just want to, go back to teaching pickup. It was always fun. There's always a lot of camaraderie and none of this toxic, crazy energy and nasty emails and death threats ever came until I started exposing the truth about women. Calling women over 30 DG and all this, and and every other PUA out there that teaches this and has been out there at least for a few years long enough and has gotten good at game, they know. They're not stupid. They know how female nature is. They know, I'm not saying anything new. They know exactly what I know because they deal with it. But they don't want to talk about it because it doesn't sell programs. It hurts their business. And I had the balls to go against it and be like, I gotta tell you about it because I don't want you out there doing cold approach and picking up women and dating women, getting relationships, and then screwing yourself when you realize, like, oh God, I chose wrong. You know how many guys have chosen wrong? So many guys, and fortunately, like, and I'm a prime example. Like, um, yeah, I've had some bad relationships, but most of them have been pretty good. Even my last relationship, I don't appreciate what happened at the end of that relationship. And one day I will talk about it. But you know what? It was pretty good for the most part. It worked. Um, it worked. And I don't have any kids. I never been married. I ain't a single dad. Um, I don't have any STDs. I mean, I've won the game basically. And I've got a cell phone chock full of phone numbers of beautiful women. If I ever want to get married at any point in time, I could just look through my phone and go, hey, it's Matt. Haven't talked to you in a while. What do you think about reconnecting and then doing this together? Uh, I mean, if I sent that out, I mean, women would jump on that and be like, let's do it. Where do you want me to be? Where do you want me to go? That's why it's so easy for me. When I was in Vegas and I was like, I had a date out there with, it started with one girl. You should go to my IG at Matt Cross Official. This is funny. About a month and a half ago now, I went out to Vegas and I was just meeting up with one girl that I really liked. And we spent a few days together. And then the hotel, there was like a deal or something, like I could extend my stay, but she was already going back and she did want to stay. And I just said, oh, it's okay. No, 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 no. Go home. Because I just wanted my own time to myself. I felt like, God, we spent 3 straight days together. Great girl. I really enjoyed her. I'm looking forward to seeing her again. She's supposed to come to LA. I told her I'm taking you to a Dodgers game. We're gonna love this. 26 years old. I just turned 26. Yeah, recently. She was 25 when we were in Vegas. And I said, I'm taking you to a Dodgers game next. She's like, okay, cool. I'm looking forward to it. And then she left. And I'm like, okay, I'm bored. And I was there by myself. And I just got on my phone. And I was like, who do I want to come out? And I was like, hey, come out to Vegas. And then that girl, it took her a little while to return my call, so I wasn't sure. So I called somebody else. And then they said, yeah, I'm coming. And then the other girl returned my call and said, okay, when do you want me to be there? And I was like, well, okay, I've got somebody coming out. Why don't you come out after after her? Who? And then she came out. So I ended up meeting with like 4 different women within a 1 week time span in Vegas. Go to my IG at Matt Cross Official. I took them all on the gondola ride, and it was so hilarious because the gondola driver, they kept seeing me there, right? The gondola driver was like, wow, oh my gosh, he was like, I just saw you. And I was like, dude, and he was all, okay, yeah. But you could tell the women who worked there who were selling the tickets, who kept seeing me like with a different girl, one after the other, they were kind of like, but they didn't say anything. They don't like that. Anyway, back to the retirement thing. So I was this close to retiring, guys. I was this close to retiring from teaching this stuff. I didn't want to do it anymore. And then I was getting serious with my girl about, like, we're talking about um, marriage, and obviously I would not involve the state. I told you guys I would do a private ceremony. I told her I'm going to hire the Catholic priest. I'm Catholic. We're doing this at the church, and that's how we're doing it. And you're going to sign some documents. That's it, and yeah. And I said, I got to wean off the red pill stuff because I don't want that energy around me anymore, and it just I don't it doesn't serve me at all, or my business, and I have employees and stuff like that. But what changed my mind? It's funny. So not only did my relationship break apart, but it all kind of happened at the same time, which is funny, right? It's almost like God was sending me a message, and the relationship started breaking apart, and then I started. I'm not even kidding. I started just getting. I don't even know why. I was getting fed clips on YouTube from Knight Rider, and I was like, okay, I've been watching Knight Rider in ages, and I started getting fed clips from Knight Rider. I was like trying to get my mind off my breakup, so I'd watch clips of Knight Rider. the old 1980s show. And then it got to the point where I thought about, okay, it's not going to work with my girl. I'm going forward just me. What am I going to do here? And I was still considering no longer teaching. I was going to wean off the red pill and stop and retire. And then I got fed this clip from like one of the last episodes of Knight Rider called Scent of the Roses, where Michael's about to get married. And I was like, what's funny is I don't think I remember ever seeing that episode. I don't know why, but I didn't remember it. So it was the first time I saw it. And I was watching it, right? I was watching the clips from it. And there's like a scene where he's about to get married and he says goodbye to Kit, right? And I had never seen that before. And he drops it, his little watch, his watch that controls Kit. It's like, Kit, get over here. Uh, he takes off his watch for the first time in like how many years of being Knight Rider, puts it on the dash and says bye. And I was like, man, I just like, it hit me. It's just like, I related to that because that's what I was doing. I was like that close to retiring. That's what I was doing. And yeah, that hit me. And then towards the end of that episode, I guess he loses his wife. She got like shot by one of his like main enemies. He was just oh, that's another thing. He was just trying to move on. Dude was just trying to get married. He was just trying to move on with his life. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And then Kit was like, okay, I wish you the best. And then he goes off and he's marrying this chick, and then she gets shot by one of his previous enemies, and it would kind of like dawned upon me. I'm like, man, what if this like played out in real life, like art imitating life or life imitating art? And something happened to my ex, I mean, yeah, some things happened at the end that I'll talk about in the future. No, she didn't like physically cheat or anything, just some things happened that I'll discuss later. When things said just the dust settles more. But I kind of yeah. So even though that happened, I was like, okay, well, I don't want her to get hurt because of me, or because of things I teach, And you should see some of these death threats you get, man, for telling the truth. It's pretty nuts, right? Like the stuff that people send is like, I mean, it's just Looney Tunes. And you know what? You know what too? Like we've reported them to like I've gotten sent this stuff on IG. I don't okay, when somebody sends me a message first time, I don't really get that. You know who gets it is my VA, my virtual assistant. He intercepts all those original messages because sometimes there's hate, death threats, whatever. He's instructed to report those to the platform. And you don't know how many times he comes back and tells me, I reported it, they did nothing. They did nothing. Right? They didn't even remove the person's account. Sometimes they did, I give them that, but other times they did not, likely because you got woke people working over there. They go, oh, this is Matt Cross, that 33 Secrets guy. Oh, or they check the channel. Oh, really? 30 people are women are DG? What? And then they're like, let's not protect this guy. Screw him. At least that's my thought. And so yeah, I was like dealing with that, man. And I'm like, okay, it'd be different if I'm like really profiting off this and stuff, but it just didn't make sense anymore. And so yeah, so Michael Knight's fiance gets killed, and by one of his main enemies, right, who hates him. And I was like, man, what if this plays out in real life, And then he goes after him and all this, and then so his fiance dies, and then at the end of that episode, it's probably the only sad episode of Knight Rider ever, because most of them are fun. But he loses her, and then he's at the beach, and this is really what changed my mind. He was at the beach, and after he already retired, he said goodbye. He already was like, I'm done with that life. I'm no longer Michael Knight. I'm no longer Knight Rider. I just want to be a normal person. Goes to the beach, and he's just there thinking about his relationship. She's gone and all this. And funny enough, because I go to the beach a lot, I'm in the OC, I'm in California, I love the beach. I kind of had that same experience, right? Where I was like, really just, what's next? And then he's like, he just, like, he has a light bulb moment, and he looks back at Kit, and he goes, I've made my decision. He starts running back to Kit, goes over to Kit, and he goes, Kit, Kid goes, "Where are we going, Michael?" He was like, "Back to the foundation. Back to the foundation." And that's when I was like, man, it just hit me. As cheesy as it sounds, because a lot of the '80s shows are like they look cheesy now compared to what we have today, right? But for us who grew up with shows like that, it was very special to us because it was during a time where there was no internet, there was no social media, dating apps, or anything like that, and plus we were just kids, so this was a big deal, and so it still affects me in that way, you know. And so yeah, he's like, yeah, we're going back to the foundation, and he just goes back to being Michael Knight, like nothing ever happened. And literally, after watching that scene, I literally made my decision, and I don't make impulsive decisions, but I said, I'm gonna keep going, and I made that decision, and I haven't changed my mind. I said I'm gonna keep going. Are there gonna be risks? Is it gonna be dangerous? Yes. But I'm going to keep going because I feel like I need to. Do I make money from this? No.
Forever. Forever.
Where are we going, Michael? We're going home, kid. With family. We're going to the foundation.
One man can make a difference, Matt. Matt Cross, a lone crusader in a dangerous world, the world of the Red Pill.